Spotify paid UMG around $2.28 billion in 2023, which amounted to 19% of UMG's total revenues in 2023. So a fifth of what this multi-billion, probably close to $1 trillion record label makes comes from Spotify. So you think they're having regular phone calls between each other and have a close relationship? I mean, 2.2 billion will definitely do it for you. So recently, Drake filed, well, we'll call it a lawsuit. It's really more of a petition, as you all can see here. And we're going to find out what Drake is trying to get when it comes to this whole situation that happened with him and Kendrick Lamar. Now, as some of you may or may not know, Drake and Kendrick Lamar at the beginning of this year had some beef going back and forth. Kendrick dropped a song with Future and Metro Boomin. They went back and forth. There were several songs, and at the end of it, I mean, I think we can all agree that Kendrick won that battle. So shout out to Kendrick Lamar, taking home the win. Had the biggest song of this year with Not Like Us. If you haven't heard it yet, make sure you go check it out. And Drake, since then, he's just been doing Drake things, making some music, and they haven't really performed that well. But that's besides the point. Getting into this petition, Drake is really, I don't want to say upset, but he really went and did a deep dive into the situation with Kendrick Lamar dropping that final track, which was Not Like Us. And it seems to be there's a lot more to the success of that song than meets the eye. Now, I'll go into a little bit of background. Of course, I have experience in the music industry, and we reviewed a lot of this as it happened with the Kendrick Lamar Drake situation. And I'll tell you guys what exactly some of these statements means when we're talking about using bots for artists to boost their music, which is a regular practice in the music industry, or different types of promotion tactics that are mentioned in this petition. But we're going to go ahead and get into it. Again, if y'all haven't yet, please make sure you like the video. Likes are free, and it really does help the channel continue to grow. Here we go. The Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of New York. Here we go. In the matter of the application of Frozen Moments LLC, that is Drake's LLC, by the way, the petitioner, for an order pursuant to Section 3102 of the Civil Practice Law and Rules to compel pre-action disclosure from UMG Recordings Incorporated and Spotify USA Incorporated. Now, these terms are very important. What does this pre-action disclosure mean? It basically means discovery. So someone's about to get sued. He's not necessarily suing UMG. It's good for the headlines. It's good for to get people to click on the titles. But Drake at this point is not suing UMG. He's just saying, hey, we're going through discovery. We want you guys to give us the information that we're looking for. And in this petition, we're going to find out exactly what he's trying to get. Petitioner, Frozen Moments LLC. Petitioner is going to be mentioned, or it's going to be mentioned moving forward, or as Frozen Moments, by and through its undersigned attorneys, represents petitions the court pursuant to New York Civil Practice Law and Rule, CPLR. It's going to be mentioned further for an order granting limited pre-action disclosure from respondents UMG Recordings Incorporated and Spotify USA Incorporated as well. They're going to be mentioned or referred to as Spotify moving forward, and directing the preservation of relevant evidence in the possession of custody or control of UMG. Guys, when it comes to UMG is bleeding right now, and it's bad. It's really bad. Not only are they mentioned in this petition, UMG was also mentioned in a couple of the lawsuits that took place or that are being charged against Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs. Y'all may not remember that. If you missed it, go back and watch the videos on my channel where we reviewed a lot of these lawsuits, and UMG was mentioned. And it was implied that UMG not only enabled what Diddy was doing, but they were actually behind a lot of the things that were happening in some of these freak offs. You know what I'm saying? There were people from UMG that were involved with getting certain people to these parties. And they were mentioned in a couple of these lawsuits. Obviously, they want to get out of it. Not only that, but UMG has a big part and a big stake in what Drake is doing as well, because he just signed like a $600 million deal with UMG when it comes to him being able to release his music. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and keep going. Nature of this dispute. In his memo to staff reflecting on highlights of 2021, the CEO of UMG, Lucien Grange, who's come under fire recently, remarked on it being harder than ever for artists to break through the noise. 60,000 songs are added to Spotify every single day. Spotify is the world's most popular audio streaming subscription service. As of the end of the third quarter of 2024, Spotify boasted more than 640 million monthly active users, which is insane, and 252 million subscribers. Killing it. Spotify pays music companies like UMG for the right to license songs so it can play them on its streaming and subscription platforms. In 2023 alone, Spotify paid more than $9 billion in royalties to music labels and producers. I am one of those people who got paid from Spotify, so shout out to Spotify. Hip hop is one of the most popular genres on Spotify, accounting to nearly a quarter of all streams on Spotify globally in 2023. Spotify and UMG have a strong standing symbiotic business relationship. Now, this is where things start to get weird and people have issues with it. Spotify and UMG and record labels in general have a very, very close relationship. Obviously, they have to, because if you want to listen to Taylor Swift is under UMG. Spotify has to be like, hey, UMG, what's it going to take for us to get Taylor Swift's music on the platform? We get paid, you guys get paid, we'll give you a certain percentage, right? But the issue comes from, and we're going to see this here moving forward throughout this petition, is that how much of Spotify's business is reliant on a record label, the biggest record label in the world right now, which is UMG. We're going to see that moving forward. As one of Spotify's earliest supporters, UMG entered into a multi-year global license agreement with Spotify in 2020. UMG and Spotify collaborate on strategic marketing campaigns. Keep that in mind as we move forward. And products. In 2024, announced an expansion of their strategic partnership through which Spotify will amplify music discovery and social interaction and enhance fans' experience across the platform for UMG's family of artists and songwriters. Based on UMG's financial reporting, y'all listen to this, Spotify paid UMG around $2.28 billion in 2023, which amounted to 19% of UMG's total revenues in 2023. So a fifth of what this multi-billion, probably close to $1 trillion record label makes comes from Spotify. So you think they're having regular phone calls between each other and have a close relationship? I mean, 2.2 billion will definitely do it for you. Streaming is essential to UMG's current bottom line and its future business strategy. In a report related to the third quarter of 2024, UMG noted that nearly 29% year-over-year decrease in downloads and other digital revenue because of the continued format shift towards streaming across the music industry. UMG's long-term strategy relies on accelerating the growth and monetization form streaming and subscription. In October 2024, UMG unveiled a new slogan, Streaming 2.0. Oh, God. I'm not going to get into it right now, but UMG is just interesting when it comes to their thoughts on streaming, but we'll get at that later. Which illustrates the importance of UMG places on saturating the streaming market. In 2024, UMG did not rely on chance or even ordinary business practices to break through the noise on Spotify and likely other music platforms. It instead launched a campaign to manipulate, and saturate the streaming services and airways with a song Not Like Us in order to make that song go viral, including by using bots and pay to play agreements. This is my least favorite part of this petition because, guys, again, if you've been watching this channel, you've seen interviews that I've done with folks who have been in the music industry, specifically my guy, Chad Focus. And Chad Focus actually went into great detail about how record labels use bots and use pay to play and use radio stations to promote or boost an artist's music and their plays and just their visibility overall. This is standard practice. Drake himself has benefited from these practices. It can be proven. It can easily be seen. But what it looks like they're arguing here is that maybe UMG just took it one step too far, or they at least have knowledge of somebody who took it a step too far. And not only are they hurting Drake, but they're going against the rules and the laws that apply to music promotion. So this is where it starts to get a little gray. And I really look down on people who complain about a system that they benefited from. I mean, whether that be the NBA players or it be people in the music industry. So this kind of gets on my nerves when Drake especially has something to say about this, because we all know it's a part of the game, right? Number 6, UMG released Not Like Us or the song on May 4th, 2024. Pursuant to various contract rights, UMG, via its division Interscope Records, has exclusive control over the licensing of that song, meaning they decide who gets to stream and play that song. Upon or on information and belief, UMG charged Spotify licensing rates 30% lower than its usual licensing rates for Not Like Us in exchange for Spotify affirmatively recommending the song to users who are searching for other unrelated songs and artists. Uh-oh, you can't do that. This is where things start to get weird now, because we're going to get into why or what Spotify did, what they're alleging Spotify did to push this song so much. And it gets wild here, y'all. So check it out. Neither UMG nor Spotify disclosed that Spotify had received compensation of any kind in exchange for recommending the song. On information and belief, Spotify pays UMG licensing fees through the wires or mails. Now, Drake wouldn't really care about this, right? I mean, why does he care if Kendrick Lamar is successful or not? Who cares? The issue is the way they made Kendrick Lamar successful, specifically with Not Like Us, because what does Kendrick Lamar say are, what are one of the lines in Not Like Us? It's certified lover boy, certified. Yeah, I'm not going to say the word here on YouTube. So UMG, as we saw in the past, or we won't say UMG, we won't even say Spotify. Through some means, we saw several people who were saying when they tried to look for a song or they typed in certified lover boy, which is the title of one of Drake's most recent albums, what would come up is Not Like Us. And Drake said, hey, y'all, hey, yo, listen, y'all are messing with my money now, because people are typing in certified lover boy on these streaming platforms and they're using Siri and say, hey, Siri, I want to listen to Certified Lover Boy. What pops up? Not Like Us. Not a great look for Drake. And you can go and you can even see TikToks and videos and shorts on YouTube, on Instagram, where people were showing that they would say and ask these different platforms to play Certified Lover Boy, and that's the song that pops up. It's going to be mentioned here later. UMG directly or through Interscope also conspired with and paid currently known parties to use bots to artificially inflate the spread of Not Like Us and deceive consumers into believing the song was more popular than it was in reality. I don't care about this because every single record label, every single artist does this. I don't care about the bot part. Bots are software programs designed to mimic human behavior to appear to be real social media accounts. One individual known to Petitioner revealed publicly on a popular podcast that Mr. Kendrick Lamar, Duckworth's label, Interscope, paid him via third parties to use bots to achieve 3 million streams on Spotify in the first day of the release of Not Like Us, with the goal of jumpstarting the song's spread and turning into a crazy hit on the platform. Again, this is used. I just think the reason that Drake or his crew is upset is because they went overboard with it and it's hurting his bottom line, which doesn't make sense because UMG benefits in some ways from Drake's success, or do they? We'll see here in a second. The whistleblower describes Spotify as the easiest platform to bot, which is true, because it does not, like other streaming platforms, have certain security measures when it comes to bot protection. And the security measures being, some of these platforms force you to sign in to listen to music. They force you to make an account to listen to music. Spotify does not do that, which makes it easier to bot. And again, the reason I know this is because we talked with Chad Focus. We did an interview with him. Y'all really should go watch it. And I'll put it in the description of this video as well. And he talks about exactly the process that happens when people try to bot platforms like Spotify, SoundCloud, all of that. And it's insane and crazy to see. But a lot of platforms like Spotify are so easy to bot because they don't force you to make an account to listen to something. I think YouTube is the same way as well. So something to think about moving forward here. The whistleblower describes Spotify as the easiest platform to bot because it does not like other streaming platforms have certain security measures when it comes to bot protection, quote unquote. The whistleblower further revealed that on May 6, 2024, an individual affiliated with Interscope sent him a payment of $2,500 via the digital payment platform Zelle, which is owned by a number of banks, and that he was promised another $2,500 and a percentage of the song's total sales for this initial push, which is rare. Most of the time you don't get a percentage of sales, even if you're a producer on the track. And the person they're talking about here is DJ Academics. Interviewed somebody who claimed that they were the person who Kendrick's camp reached out to bot this song. And he even went through and he showed example of it. Again, we reviewed that video here. Pretty crazy to see. If y'all want to check it out, you can go find that on DJ Academics platform. On information and belief, UMG hired other unknown third parties to use bots to promote Not Like Us, and also to inflate the streams of Not Like Us music video, which is going to be referred to as the video moving forward, which UMG first published on July 4th, 2024. UMG appears to have used several tactics with other streaming services. On information and belief, UMG paid or approved payments to Apple Inc. Oh, not Apple Incorporated, to have its voice activated digital assistant Siri purposely misdirect users to Not Like Us. Yeah, this is no good. Online sources reported that when users asked Siri to play the album Certified Lover Boy by recording artist Aubrey Drake Graham, aka Drake, Siri instead played Not Like Us, which contains the lyric certified, I'm not saying it, an allegation against Drake, which is nasty work, but hey, shout out to them. UMG engaged in similar pay to play schemes to increase the airplay of Not Like Us on the radio. Petitioner has obtained information from third party indicating that at least one UMG employee made payments to an independent radio promoter serving as an intermediary, who had agreed to transfer those payments to certain radio stations and or radio station employees. The radio station subsequently played or caused to be played Not Like Us without disclosing that they had been paid to do so. So it's not a problem to do it. You just have to say, oh, this is a paid promotion from. This practice is known as payola and is prohibited by Communications Act of 1934. It's going to be tough to prove and has been the subject of regulatory scrutiny by a number of executive agencies. Again, this is nothing new. Artists are doing this and have done this and will continue to do it moving forward. Drake is calling it out in this situation because obviously got overblown is hurting his bottom line. In 2006, UMG agreed to pay $12 million in a settlement to New York Attorney General following an investigation involving accusations that UMG executives had used a broad array of pay-to-play tactics to secure radio airplay for music. In connection with UMG settlement, then New York Attorney General Elliot Spitzer, explained, consumers have a right not to be misled about the way in which music they hear on the radio is selected. He continued to say that pay for play makes a mockery of claims that only the best or most popular music is broadcast. Separately, in 2005, UMG was sued by two radio station companies alleging fraudulent pay to play practices. While historically, payola has been thought of in terms of paying radio stations to play songs, in February of 2022, the Federal Trade Commission released guidance stating that by paying an influencer to pretend that their endorsement to review is untainted by a financial relationship, this is illegal payola. So you just have to tell if this is a promotion or not. And YouTube has a lot of tools in place for this, as well as many other platforms. You can usually mark most posts or most videos as a paid promotion. On information and belief, UMG employed a similar scheme by paying social media influencers to promote and endorse the song and the video, talking about Not Like Us, the music video, Not Like Us, the song. For example, Petitioner understands that UMG paid the popular NFR podcast, which has nearly 300,000 subscribers on YouTube and over 330,000 followers on X, to promote Not Like Us and its video without disclosing the payment as part of a deal with UMG. The NFR podcast published podcast episodes, tweets, and other content publicly about the song. Man, where my money at? I mean, they didn't have to give me 12 million, but they could have given me, let's see, we got about a third, half. We got about a fourth of their following. Why couldn't we get, a cool million or something? Dang, y'all, I would have promoted it. And in a sea change for UMG's internal policy, UMG removed the song's copyright restrictions on YouTube. It happened here, and Twitch, thereby whitelisting the song for the first time in UMG history, which further incentivized influencers to spread the song. And y'all might remember, if you were still here on the channel, that everyone was shocked that UMG did this. Usually you can play 2 seconds of a song that is under a major record label, specifically UMG, and that thing is shut down. They will shut down your whole video. You're not getting monetization from it. And in some cases, the video gets flagged, you get a copyright strike, and it has to be taken down. In this case, the entire content creation world could not believe that, well, they were giving credit to Kendrick Lamar for this, but Kendrick Lamar removed the copyright restrictions, and we were able to make a lot of money from not only breaking down the song, for streaming the song, for commenting on the song. And Kendrick Lamar, we were really able to cash out about that. Now, the issue with that was a month or so later, they said, we take it back. And then everybody was getting the songs and the videos were getting flagged, and then no more money from that. But it was a brilliant strategy on their part. I don't think they have a case here in this instance by removing the copyright restrictions, because they're allowed to do that if they want to. But it's a smart move on their part. UMG scheme to ensure Not Like Us broke through on Spotify and elsewhere worked. Not Like Us broke Spotify's records, and Interscope posted on its X account that Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us becomes the fastest rap song to reach 300 million Spotify streams. It only took 35 days, which is insane. To date, Not Like Us has almost 900 million streams on Spotify and holds the record for the biggest single day streams of a hip hop song and the most streamed diss track in Spotify history. Oh, that's tough. Not Like Us has spent 27 weeks on Spotify's city chart for New York City, which ranks the weekly streaming popularity of songs by users in New York, New York. Within a week of its initial release, Not Like Us broke the record for the most streamed song in a 7-day period with 96 million streams. After UMG published the video, Not Like Us returned to the #1 spot on Billboard Hot 100, which is garbage, by the way. Shout out to Billboard, but whatever. And in the same week, the song was streamed an additional 53.8 million times and played on the radio an additional 40 million times. From July 4th to August 8th of 2024, the video ranked first on YouTube's weekly top music video chart. On November 13th, 2024, the iHeartRadio leaderboard reported that Not Like Us was the second most popular song on the platform. On New York City radio, Not Like Us remains as of the date of this filing, a top 40 hit on the popular music and hip hop stations, including Z100, Power 105.1, and WQHT. From May 9th to August 15th, the song was among the top 10 of all songs streamed in New York City. This is crazy. UMG touted the record-breaking success. On July 16, 2024, Interscope reported on X that the song had become the best-selling rap song of 2024 in the US. I don't know, y'all. I'm looking at this. It seems like UMG, they're not all to blame for this, but something's going on between UMG and Drake. And we haven't talked about the relationship that Drake has with UMG too much, but UMG and Lucian Grainge specifically, they have a very close relationship and a lot of money at stake when it comes to Drake. $600 million man did a crazy deal with them. And by the end of his deal, he is going to have ownership of a lot of his music, which could be a bad thing for UMG. Now, in this sense, again, Drake isn't suing UMG. He's just telling them, hey, I want y'all to tell me what happened so I can hold whoever needs to be held accountable. UMG, obviously, they're not going to be in trouble for this. They're the biggest record label in the world. They can do pretty much whatever they want to. And they have a lot of control behind what Drake does too. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward, because as we're going to see here shortly, UMG says, hey, if you want to sue Kendrick Lamar, go ahead. Yo, we don't care. Let them burn. We're going to make our money regardless. UMG posted on his X account about the song's charting as the most streamed song of the week. On August 29th, UMG posted on X with a link to a Summer Hits 2024 playlist by Spotify and the caption, Song of the Summer? UMG fam lands 4 out of 5 on Spotify. Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish and other songs that we're not really worried about. UMG schemes to artificially inflate the popularity of Not Like Us were motivated, at least in part, by the desire of executives at Interscope to maximize their own profits. UMG executives have an annual incentive program pursuant to which they are rewarded for meeting and surpassing sales and profit projections, among other metrics. Again, nothing new. They do this with all artists. The incentives are largely based on the specific UMG division rather than the performance of UMG more generally. For example, the annual incentive or bonus of Interscope's CEO, John Janik, is based 90% on the financial success of Interscope, which is a subset of UMG, and only 10% on the financial success of UMG generally. Thus, and Kendrick Lamar only has a publishing deal with Interscope. So again, they have a big incentive to push this song in that way, because the more money that makes, the more money they make off of the song. Because he has a publishing deal with them. Now, the other royalties Kendrick gets or they either go through TDE, but not too sure about the situation on the TDE side. But that's why they would have incentive to do that. Thus, on information and belief, Mr. Janik and other executives at Interscope have been incentivized to maximize the financial success of Interscope through the promotion of Not Like Us and its revitalizing impact on the artist's prior recording catalog, including his first 5 studio albums, which are owned by Interscope. Y'all see this? This is some BS. Words mean things, and y'all have to listen to the wording, especially when it comes to these legal documents. He said it's revitalizing impact on the artist's prior recording catalog. He's taking shots at Kendrick. I think people were calling it the Drake stimulus package, because since Drake decided to beef with Kendrick Lamar, it essentially revitalized Kendrick's career. Which is kind of true if you look at it objectively. I mean, let's be real. And even if you look at the numbers that Kendrick's most recent album is expected to do this first week, it's really not, considering the success of that Not Like Us, it's not looking that great. Petitioner has received information that UMG has taken steps in an apparent effort to conceal its schemes, including but not limited to by terminating employees associated with or perceived as having loyalty to Drake. All right, now we're getting petty. Indeed, UMG has demonstrated that it has no interest in taking responsibility for its misconduct. Over the past several months, Drake has repeatedly sought to engage UMG in discussions to resolve the ongoing harm he has suffered as a result of UMG's actions, which we're aware of, and makes sense that they would come out with this petition because they're going to say, all right, I know y'all can't do anything because you do this with every single artist. I'm just going to force my hand by putting all this in a legal document, and you're going to have to give me something because I need to fight this, and we got to make this go away. We got to fix it because Kendrick didn't win the right way. UMG refused to engage in negotiations and insisted that UMG is not responsible for its own actions. Instead, UMG has pointed the finger at Mr. Duckworth, which is Kendrick Lamar's. Hey, yo. That's his real last name. God, I'm sorry. I'm immature sometimes, y'all. Give me a second. Instead, UMG has pointed the finger at Mr. Duckworth. Insisted that Drake should initiate legal action against Mr. Duckworth rather than UMG, and even threatened to bring its own legal claims against Mr. Duckworth if Drake were to pursue claims against UMG. So basically UMG saying, hey, if you want to sue Kendrick Lamar, please go ahead. We'll actually go in that with you. We gonna sue him too. And whatever you find, yeah, let's go get him. Let's go get our money. And Drake, hey, you're our $600 million boy. We got your back. But Drake, they weren't willing to give Drake what he wanted. So again, they forced his hand. Here's the legal petition. Streaming and licensing is a zero-sum game. Every time a song breaks through, it means another artist does not. UMG's choice to saturate the music market with Not Like Us comes at the expense of its other artists like Drake. As Drake is Petitioner's sole owner, and Petitioner owns the copyrights to Drake's entire catalog, Petitioner suffered economic harm as a result of UMG's scheme. Yeah, they overdid it on this one. And that's tough because, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to play the game and you want to use bots in a certain way, fine. But I think the argument here is that they used it in a way that not only affected Drake, but affected every other artist, and specifically Drake's catalog, especially if what they're saying about Apple is true with them using Siri and redirecting all Drake streams to Kendrick streams. I mean, you want to talk about stimulus package. That's just taking it to another level. The parties, okay? Petitioner is Frozen Moments LLC. It's a limited liability. Oh, okay, we don't care about this. It's owned by Drake, basically. Respondent UMG is wholly owned subsidiary of Universal Music Group. We know all that. Don't really care. Respondent, Spotify USA. We know who they are. Jurisdiction and venue. The court has personal jurisdiction over UMG pursuant to CPLR 302. UMG regularly transacts business within the state. All right. We know who UMG owns. They're connected to Interscope, blah, blah, blah. Petitioner requires pre-action discovery. Here we go. And preservation. So UMG, y'all, you got to get your people together and tell the pursuant or the petitioner exactly what happened and what went down. All right, Frozen Moments has commenced this special proceeding pursuant to CPLR 3102 to seek pre-action discovery to allow petitioner to 1, identify appropriate defendants and frame a complaint for a claim under the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, aka RICO. Oh no. RICO is back, y'all. And identify appropriate defendants and frame a complaint for a claim under Section 349 of the New York General Business Law and Section 340 and Section 340A of the New York General Business Law. Yeah, this is gonna be bad because if they give Drake everything he needs for this, and Drake goes after either Kendrick or TDE. I don't know, or Interscope for that matter, which I can't imagine that he would. This is gonna be rough. So what is gonna happen from here on out? Because Drake's beef, as I said, it really isn't with UMG. He just wants UMG to snitch and say, y'all got to tell me what he did and how he did it. Because I know good and dang well, ain't no Kendrick Lamar is beating the almighty Drake. So got to give it up. I want to know what happened. I want to know how it happened. And we're going to expose this man. UMG, they don't want any smoke, especially since they have so much invested in both artists. They're just going to be like, hey, y'all figure it out. Y'all handle it. Here's everything that happened. Just make sure you point the finger at them. And we're probably going to sue them too. Civil RICO. Petitioner has a viable cause for action for civil RICO with predicate acts of wire fraud, mail fraud, and or bribery for UMG's payment to unknown third parties in the form of reduced licensing fees to Spotify. However, Petitioner requires additional information in order to frame his complaint and satisfy the heightened Rule 9B pleading standard applicable to complaints sounding in fraud. Specifically, Petitioner requires information about the method by which the parties were paid in order to determine which underlying predicate acts to plead, and requires information about which benefits were conferred upon UMG in exchange for payments. Additionally, Petitioner lacks sufficient information to identify the third parties who acted in conspiracy with UMG. Do y'all think UMG is going to give up their people? I mean, it's not really their people because it's UMG and then Interscope and then whoever was working on the promotion of Interscope. But you go after the big dogs. They're just going to let the little ones take the fall. You see this in corporate America all the time, even with everything that happened with Wells Fargo. I don't know if y'all know the story about that. All the CEOs and all the executives, they were cool. They just said, oh yeah, everyone who was writing and creating these fraudulent loans, they were the ones that did it. This is what's going to happen here, especially if they push the issue. Man. Deceptive business practices and false advertising. Petitioner has information that agents of UMG paid at least one third party to use bots to stream the song on Spotify. And on information and belief, the practice extended to multiple third parties to artificially stream the song and video. It's going to be hard to prove. UMG also gave financial benefits to Spotify and other unknown third parties to promote and play the song and video without disclosing those payments. UMG then touted the success of the song and video, knowing the success was artificially inflated by its own manipulation. These practices harm consumers. Yep, we talked about this before. They also violate the New York Deceptive Businesses Act and the New York False Advertising Act. Without the requested pre-litigation discovery, Petitioner lacks sufficient information to identify the known but anonymous third-party streamer and to identify any additional streamers whom UMG paid. Petitioner also lacks sufficient facts to frame the complaint regarding what was exchanged for UMG's payment. So again, this is not an official lawsuit. This is just a petition. So when the complaint comes through, then somebody's getting sued. But somebody's getting sued. Petitioner seeks the following limited pre-action disclosure from UMG. You got to give it up, UMG. The documents and the communications sufficient to show the identities of all third parties that UMG, its agents, or anyone works on behalf of UMG/Interscope paid without public disclosure to promote, publish, or recommend the song in accompanying cover image or video, including but not limited to radio stations, influencers, music platforms, and music publications, as well as the dates, methods, and amounts of those payments. Oh my God. DJ Academics is going to be mentioned in the complaint, by the way. So when this complaint actually comes through, unless they settle this behind closed doors, which I can't imagine they would because of the nature of this, it's about image, right? So they don't want to just settle this behind closed doors and then everything's done. This is all about image. This is all about showing that Kendrick Lamar's success with this song, his success in this rap battle was doctored or manufactured, and Drake is out for blood. So there wouldn't be a reason for them to settle this behind closed doors. This is all about putting it down on Front Street, everybody who's involved. So DJ Academics was the one who was able to find the alleged third party that actually allegedly botted the songs for and the video for Kendrick Lamar's camp. And it's all going to be put out there. And we've already seen if this person who did this, who allegedly did this for Kendrick Lamar, you know, their name is put out there and it's identified as this is the person that Academic spoke to, then I mean, it really takes away from all the quote unquote success that Kendrick Lamar achieved in the past 6 months with this song. Documents and communications sufficient to show the identities of all third parties at UMG, its agents, or anyone working on the behalf of UMG/Interscope paid to use bots or any other similar technology to stream the song or video, as well as the dates, methods, and the amounts of those payments, and documents and communications sufficient to show what the third parties agreed to provide and did provide in exchange for those payments. And the interesting thing about this again is UMG, they do this as a standard practice. So are they willing to throw, say, a semi-successful artist under one of their sub record labels like an Interscope to just make this throwaway? Are they willing to take a Kendrick Lamar and throw him under the bus just to get rid of this so people don't start looking and digging into how they've managed to Taylor Swift, a Drake, you know, SZA, all the other artists under them? Hell yeah. And if Kendrick Lamar has to be the one they sacrifice in this case, so be it. But this is not the first time they've done this. This will not be the last. It's just going to be interesting to see how this ends for Kendrick, because I don't see a way that this ends without Kendrick Lamar just getting exposed. It's gonna hurt a lot of y'all's feelings. And then Drake's gonna drop the Not Like Us remix. Petitioner seeks the following limited pre-action disclosure from Spotify. Oh, not Spotify. Oh no. Documents and communications sufficient to show the dates, methods, and amounts of financial benefit, whether in the form of direct payment or reduced licensing fees, which is, again, it's going to be hard to prove the reduced licensing fees. I guess you could show the standard that has happened between Spotify and UMG over the past years is it's been 10%, or it's been, let's say, 51%. And then on Not Like Us, they reduced it to 30%, right? So it'll be interesting there. Provided to Spotify by UMG/Interscope, its agents, or anyone working on its behalf in exchange for the promotion, publication, or recommendation of the song on Spotify, and 2 documents and communications sufficient to show what Spotify agreed to provide and did provide in exchange for any such benefits. Do y'all think that is in writing? I highly doubt it, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Petitioner has further commenced this special proceeding pursuant to CPLR 3102 to seek an order requiring UMG, including Interscope and all other divisions, as well as UMG's directors, offices, and relevant employees, to preserve all documents and communications regarding the song, image, and video during the pendency of any litigation that the petitioner commences against respondent and or any unknown third party of the underlying causes of action discussed herein. Y'all better not destroy any evidence is basically what this says. You destroy evidence, you're going to be in trouble. If they didn't destroy it before and after the song was successful, I mean, I don't see why they would do this now. Petitioner expects that much of the relevant evidence will be in the form of messages on social media platforms, which is how a lot of A&Rs and artists and record labels communicate back and forth, payment applications, and text messages, including but not limited to iMessage and WhatsApp. Good luck getting the iMessages, which may not be preserved in the usual course. I wonder what that means. Petitioner is aware that senior executives at UMG regularly communicate through business through messaging platforms and applications. So they probably have their own software that they use. Exhibit A verified petition is a proposed subpoena. Ooh, to UMG, commanding UMG to provide the UMG requested information. Oh my goodness. Exhibit B, verified petition to a proposed subpoena. Oh, they subpoenaed Spotify. Oh my gosh. Exhibit C, the verified petition or is a proposed order authorizing pursuant to CPLR 3102. The issuance of subpoenas in the form of subpoenas attached as Exhibit A and B. So they're subpoenaing. Oh my goodness. Spotify and UMG. Goodness. No previous applications have been made for the relief requested herein. Wherefore, petitioner respectfully requests the court enter an order pursuant CPLR 3102. Exhibit A and Exhibit B, these subpoenas. Who is this signed by? Michael J. I'm going to mess up his last name. Michael J. G, which is going to be the lawyer attorney from, was it Frozen Moments? Right. And then you've got M, Annie. I don't know. But who we got down here? Verification. Aubrey Drake Graham affirms the following to be true under the penalties of perjury pursuant to civil practice law and rules 2106. Signed by Aubrey Drake, the GOAT Graham. There it is, y'all. That's the whole thing. So what do y'all think is going to happen here? Because this is not going away. I don't see how this goes away unless Lucian Grange himself calls Drake and says, man, you got to let this go. You got to let this go. You got to let this go. Either way, somebody's going down. For Drake to go this far and to petition UMG and Spotify, I mean, this is an all-out war. Now, UMG can step aside out of the way of the bus, get that elbow, knock Kendrick Lamar into the path of the bus and say, hey, Drake, it's all yours. To me, that seems the way that would go. But let me know what y'all think in the comments and in the chat. I know y'all are going to go crazy on this video. So I can't wait to hear what y'all say about it.